What's up, guys? So in this video I'm going to continue doing the work to the fenders that I started in the last video. I'm also going to cover what I got to do to make the headlights work because yes, they bolt in, but the wiring is not correct. The plug won't plug into the back of those headlights, so you're going to have to modify the plug for your headlights to work. Now, whether you have Xenon headlights or regular halogen lights, it may not be the same as what I'm going to do because my headlights are the Xenon headlights. I got Xenon headlights to replace them. So I haven't looked at the wiring diagram to see if they're the same, but I would imagine they may not be because of the Xenon aspect and having the ballast and everything. But I'll cover that when I get to that point. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to start prepping the fenders so that I can weld them together. Once I get them welded together, I'll clean up the seam where I welded them, and then I'll start doing body filler. I don't know if I'll get to the body filler in this video. I may just get it all the way welded together on both fenders and go over the wiring for the headlights because that's very important. But we'll see where it winds up. But that's what's going to be covered in this video. Really hope you enjoy what you're going to watch. My two replacement outlets. I'm going to see if I can use the same wires that are in my sockets and just repin my wires into these connectors, but I may have to solder the wires together, so I did leave a little extension coming off of them. So the difference between the Xenons and the non-Xenons, if you don't know, which most of you probably should, but this is the ballast that powers the Xenons, and then it's got a projector style bulb inside of there. These headlights are filthy. I'm going to refinish the face of them, but it's got the projector style headlights. So I got to figure out a different way for the damn hood cable to run. Maybe not. No, okay, it's long enough. Yeah, there we go. Alright, now if I accidentally shut the hood, I won't get locked out of my engine compartment. I do have to reroute how that freaking cable is going to run, though. Just not right now. Alright, I'm going to run down to my basement and grab some clamps so that I can hold this thing together, and then I'm going to start sanding on it. Alright guys, so I didn't video me welding this together, but it took forever. I had to put a piece of metal behind it to act as a backing because this metal is so thin, it's just burning through, and my welder is turned all the way down and I'm still burning through. So I had to put another piece of metal in behind here. What I wound up doing was cutting another, I tested on that fender, but what I wound up doing was cutting a small sliver off of the original fender and put it underneath here so that I could have something to weld to, because it was just melting the seam even on the lowest setting. So, but I've got the whole thing welded. The only thing I don't have welded is up underneath the up inside of here, and then I need to obviously I need to flip the fender over and weld the back side and then paint and primer that so it doesn't rust. And I I'm not going to worry about cleaning up the backside. I mean, I'll clean it up to where it doesn't look like garbage, but I'm not going to focus too much on the back. Most of my concern is going to be up here on the front. I'm going to grind I'm going to not grind. I'm going to use that little die grinder that I'm using right now with a 60 grit sandpaper. And I'm going to try and clean most of this up, see if I have any pinholes, and then I'll come back and fill it in. But I ran out of welding rod, or welding wire, so I got to go get another spool of wire. So I got one fender welded together. I'm going to try and get the other one welded together, throw some primer on here so it doesn't rust, and then I'll probably get back out here tomorrow. All right, so got the fender sanded down. It's not perfect, but I'm going to go ahead and put some primer over it just so it won't rust, because I don't know if it's going to rain tonight, and I really don't want this thing to flash rust. So I'm going to throw some primer on it. If I got to sand it back off when I go to finish sanding it, so be it. All right, everybody, so got the fender primed. That's one little spot that's still drying. The rest of it's not fully cured. It's dry to the touch. And I didn't scuff any of this because I'm planning on taking all this paint off. I just wanted to see what it was going to look like all black. And you can see my gap in my fender gets a little wide right here, but I should be able to fill it in with body filler, because that's right where the little ant running across my hood, but that's right where I was welding it. So I should be able to build that up with body filler and get that line looking a little bit better. But it gets a little tight right here, so I may try and pry this out a little bit. I've already loosened the bolt and adjusted the fender out. I'm probably going to leave these center bolts tight and then press on this side while I tighten down the front bolt and try and get it to spring a little bit so that it'll line up a little better. But I mean, even if that's as good as I can get the line, I can fix it with body filler right here, and the rest of the line doesn't look that bad. It's only right here at the very front. I am kind of nitpicky, so I probably will spend a lot of time trying to get that dialed in. So that is without body filler. You can see my welds and grinds are still rough. I have not done any body filler to it at all. Just wanted to see what it was going to look like with it roughly finished. I have not even started welding this side. I ran out of welding wire, so I'm going to go get some welding wire and I'll weld this side up tomorrow and get it all buttoned up. And I probably won't do the body filler portion in this video. From this point on, I'm going to focus on showing you what to do with the headlights, since that's a pretty big part of the swap. All right, guys, so I want to show you the difference between the different style of headlight connectors that you can have on these swaps. So this is my original headlight connector. You can see it's a 10 pin, and I've got 10 wires in it. There's not a single open space in the connector. Now, this is the connector off of a B7 with regular halogen headlights. It has the same connector, missing one wire, and it looks like all the wires are in different locations. So you would have to repin this connector if you want to put halogen headlights onto your B6 out of a B7. Now, the Xenon style headlights, which is what I had factory, or the HIDs, however you want to describe them. But that's what was factory on this car, was the HID headlights. I got the connectors out of the car that I bought the front end off of. Went up there this morning, called the guy back, said, hey man, I need the connectors for the headlights, because I thought that I could use any headlight connectors from a B7, and I couldn't. So this one has 14 pins, and it's using 11 wires, so I'm still missing a wire out of here, even if I wind up using this connector. And from my understanding, those are the headlights that actually move, like when you're going around turns, or they're the adaptive headlights. I don't know exactly how they function. I've never had them before, so it'd be kind of interesting to see how I can get that functioning. But I'm going to get all of that stuff working. I'm going to look at the factory diagrams, and if I got to add computers and code them and all that shit, I will, because I'd really like to have all that stuff working. I know I have to change the headlight switch, because it doesn't have the controls for it next to the headlight switch. So I'll get a little bit more involved in that. But you can see the difference. That's a B7 with the adaptive headlights. That's the connector for it. And then the B7 with regular halogen lights is just like the B6 connector. But it's missing one wire, and I'm sure the wires need to be rearranged. So this is not, the headlights are not a direct plug and play. Now I can't say if you get halogen, if your car has OEM halogens and you switch it to B7 halogens, I can't say for sure if that'll work or not, because I've never had a car that had factory halogens on it. All my cars have had the Xenon HIDs. So I'm going to leave it at that. But I'm going to look at the diagrams, figure out what wires have to go to what, figure out what control modules I'm missing to have the adaptive headlights working, figure out how to code them and all that. I may not include all of that in this video, but I did want to show the difference between... I'm getting attacked by bees. Shit. I wanted to show the difference between the different headlight connectors. So, I got to go buy some bee killer because I'm not going to be dealing with this. My daughter is extremely allergic to them, and every time they're around me, I get stung. So, I mean, not that I'm a big baby, but I hate getting stung. They itch like hell. So, but yeah, anyway, I'm going to continue working on that fender, get that fender done. I'll show you after I get the headlight socket, after I get this fit into that, and then I'll give you an update regarding what control modules and stuff I'm going to have to add. All right, guys, so this is the little piece that I made to put behind the fender seam. You can see I separated the fender. I'm going to slide this in and put it right behind there, and then that'll give me backing to weld to. All right, guys, so I'm apparently an idiot. I almost burnt my freaking car up. So let me show you what I did. So I was starting to weld up here, and I knew this freaking piece was bolted in behind the fender, but I thought it had enough clearance to where it wouldn't get hot enough to freaking catch on fire, but it caught on fire. And yeah, I tried to blow the shit out, and it was way too hot. Ran and got the garden hose, had to wet it down. You can see the paint's fucking cooked. So yeah, pretty sure it damaged the evap line. It might have damaged my wiring for my headlights. I'm a total freaking goof. So don't repeat my mistake. Yeah, check and make sure that you got plenty of clearance, because apparently that thing was touching where I was welding, and it got so hot that it burst into flames. So I almost lost my car, but live and learn. Don't do that again. All right, guys, so I got both fenders welded together. This one actually turned out a little bit better than the other fender, I think. So here's my seam right up here. It actually, the body line looks pretty good, and it may be because it's freaking starting to rain. I'm having a hard time seeing, but I mean, looking at that side versus this side, that side looks way better in my opinion. But you can see the gap on the fender looks pretty good until you get where I welded them together, and then it's a little thick, so I'm gonna have to grind that down a little bit. But the rest of the gap looks good overall. That's the only spot. And then this gap looks good, except for back here because I damaged the hood, until I get about right here. So I'm gonna try and bend this out just a little bit. I may not be able to, but I'll see what I can do. All right, guys, so I've been looking through my wiring diagrams, and it looks like in order to get these headlights working the way that they did from the factory, I'm going to have to change one of the computers. It's going to be an E491, and then I also have to change looks like I have to change the headlight range switch and adjust some wires, because it looks like that headlight range switch is different. And the reason that I have to change the 491, the wiring is different, so I believe the computer and the programming inside of the computer would be different. It does look like there's a possibility I may have to change the power module, J519, but I may be able to recode it. Because my vehicle is one of the ones from a crossover year, I'm hoping that my electronics, at least the J519, will be capable of running both. I don't believe that the 491 will be, but I'm going to get in there because my wiring's been a little goofy on this car. Some of it has been based off of a 2006 model. Some of it's been based off of a 2005 model because this is a crossover year and it's in the middle of the crossover year. I've been finding a couple anomalies with this car. The fuel pump is for an 06, not for an 05 or an 04. If you order it for the 30, you have to order it for the 32 according to the parts stores around here because it's not the same pump as what's in the 30 that was in the B6 body style. All the parts stores think that this car is a B7 just based off of the engine information because they always try and give me 3.2 liter stuff, even though I tell them it's a 3.0 liter when I tell them what car it is. But now it doesn't even matter because it's 2.7, but still. The extra wire that runs that I don't have in my current wiring harness is a switchover relay because this has automatic switching lights. So if you have your bright lights on and you start coming up on somebody, I believe it's supposed to flip it back down to low beam. I could be wrong, but I think that's how it works. So I've got to get those couple computers, and I got to replace the headlight switch because the headlight switch has the range detection settings in it. So I'm going to look and see if I can find this stuff at a junkyard. I may contact the guy that I got the headlights from, see if he's willing to sell those couple computers and the headlight switch so that I can get it going. But I'll give you an update after I get that stuff going. But as it stands right now, the headlights will bolt up, but I cannot plug the wiring in yet. If I was not going to these automatic range Xenon headlights, I could get them running. I just have to repin the connectors. The connectors that are in my car would work, but I would have to repin them for the halogen lights, but I would lose the Xenon headlights, and I don't want to lose the Xenon headlights. So I'm going to try and get these range selectors and all that stuff set up. And when I get all that done, I'll post an update to that. But that basically shows what I did to the fenders, shows the differences between the connectors for the headlights. And like I say, once I get the computers and the headlight switch and range detector and all that kind of stuff for the headlights, I'll do a total update on recoding it, adding the wiring, or switching the computers out, modifying the wiring at the connectors for the computers because the wires are going into different pin locations. So I'll dive deep into that on the next video. But hopefully this gave you a good starting point for if you're trying to do this conversion. The beginning portion of this was posted in my last video, so this is just continuation from the last video. So I'll post a link to the previous video in the description. That way, if you're curious to see how the whole front end swap is going. So appreciate y'all sticking around and watching this video. If you like what you saw in this video, please like, comment, share, subscribe. The channel is starting to grow slowly but surely. I appreciate every one of you guys that are tuning in. Thank you very much. And hopefully we can share this with other people, let people see what I'm doing, and get this channel to grow, and maybe we can turn this into something amazing. So like always, thank you very much for your time, and hope you have a great day.